Welcome to the Weather Farm. We hope you've had a wonderful weekend. As we begin a new week, let's jump right into our weather forecast. To begin our Monday morning, we are still continuing to watch that area of low pressure over the Ohio Valley. That has been there all weekend. It has brought heavy rain to parts of Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky. We saw from the Kentucky Derby, it was a very muddy track on Saturday, and it's going to continue to sit and spin there for our Monday. Out west across parts of Montana, we are watching some snowfall in those higher elevations with rain in the lower elevations. And across the Four Corners region, we have mixed precipitation, rain in the lower elevations, snow in those higher elevations. As we make our way through our Monday, we're going to watch these systems continue to develop, and it is going to be this low pressure that's centered down here across parts of Mexico that we are going to watch for the next threat of severe weather. In fact, the Storm Prediction Center has gone ahead and issued an enhanced risk of severe weather for far western Texas and southeastern New Mexico Monday into Tuesday morning. We do have a slight risk extending down towards the border, up towards places like near Lubbock, over towards Midland, Texas. The main threat that's going to be associated with these storms is going to be strong winds and hail. We can't rule out, though, an isolated tornado on our Monday. So going back to our weather map, let's look at this. We are at 5 p.m. on our Monday evening, but watch across West Texas as we go to 8 o'clock. Now we go to 11 o'clock. We have those storms developing here. The 997 millibar low, we could see some scattered severe weather being formed across West Texas into New Mexico. That low pressure that was over the Ohio Valley, it's starting to move up towards Lake Erie into northern Ohio for our Monday night. And that snow is now moving out of Montana into Wyoming. And that snow could be pretty significant across the Mountain West. But it's those storms across Texas we're going to watch as we get to 2 a.m. We get to 5 a.m. Now they're making their way into Oklahoma and southwestern Kansas. By the time we wake up on our Tuesday morning, that low pressure system is continuing to spin over Ohio, continuing to bring chances of rain to that area. The snow is kind of winding down across parts of Utah and Wyoming, but as we go out through the day on Tuesday, we're going to see a line of storms making their way towards the Dallas Metroplex area, and we're going to then watch for Tuesday afternoon southeastern Oklahoma into northeastern Texas, making their way to Arkansas and Louisiana for the threat of severe weather. Currently, though, as we take a look at our Wednesday map, they do not have a strong risk of severe weather across Texas, but this is going to be something that we're going to continue to watch on our Monday into Tuesday to see if this risk does grow in its area coverage. As we continue our map, Tuesday afternoon, we're going to watch those storms move into Arkansas and into Mississippi. By the time we wake up on our Wednesday morning, those spread through the Gulf Coast, down towards Biloxi, down towards New Orleans, back towards Houston as we get to Wednesday morning, even making their way towards the Atlanta area. Scattered weather is across Colorado and Kansas, and that low pressure system that is set and spun over the Ohio Valley this weekend, it is now continuing to slowly make its way off to the north and east, this time over Lake Erie, or Lake Ontario, for our Wednesday morning. We see another system making its way onshore to the north and west, bringing rain and snow to parts of Washington and British Columbia. But as we go through Wednesday, we're going to continue to watch the systems move across the United States. By the time we get to Thursday morning, that area of that cutoff low is now over Maine, bringing rain to that area. And after we get through Thursday, we're going to see another wave of showers making their way through Dallas, down towards Louisiana. But once that system moves through Thursday afternoon and Thursday evening, we could see some strong storms across Louisiana on our Thursday. But then it's going to be generally quiet weather across the United States for Friday into our Saturday. We're going to have high pressure dominating most of the country here across the Ohio Valley to the Great Lakes. It's going to bring quiet, calm conditions for the upcoming weekend as we see it now. And the reason we're going to look at this is the jet stream. Here's that cutoff low that's over the Ohio Valley, and then we have another area of low pressure across the desert southwest. We put the jet stream into motion here. We're going to watch that area of that cutoff low make its way off to the northeast, while this next system that is going to bring the storms to Texas for our Wednesday and Thursday. We're going to watch it kind of just meander and then fall apart. But then what we're going to see is we're going to see it kind of reforming here as we get towards the weekend. We're going to see another cutoff low developing across the Gulf Coast states. This is going to provide unsettled, cooler weather for this weekend as we begin the next week of May, around the 12th, the 13th. That area of cutoff low is just going to sit and spin, similar to what we've had over the Ohio Valley. We're going to have to watch in terms of precipitation what this could mean, but it's not until we get to the middle of the month, around the 14th or the 15th, we start to see that cutoff low being kicked out to the north and east with the passage of another trough. So a lot to watch over the next several days. In terms of our precipitation, we're going to watch the heaviest amounts of rain across parts of Ohio into Michigan with that upper level low. Generally lighter amounts across Kentucky, Illinois, and Indiana. But as we start to see across South Texas, we're going to start to see that heavy rain start to make its way in play. And by the time we get to Tuesday afternoon, we could see widespread 1 to 2 inches of rain across parts of New Mexico into Texas, back up towards western Kansas, southeastern Colorado. And with that second wave making its way through, we're going to see an increase in the amount of rainfall across parts of northeastern Texas, Arkansas, and Louisiana. Some areas could reach up to 6 inches of rain by the time we get to Thursday. And the rain's going to continue this upcoming weekend as that upper level low sits and spins over this area. We could see parts of Louisiana closing in 6 to 8 inches of rain by the time we get into Friday and make our way into Saturday and Sunday. So a lot to be determined. A lot of things can change over the next few days. Tune back later this week for our latest updates with this particular forecast. Now, our national temperatures are going to be held down across the Ohio and Tennessee Valley, where we have that cutoff low pressure system still influencing the weather. But we're going to see warmth all the way up to the Canadian border with temperatures in the 70s up to the Dakotas and into northern Minnesota. Out across the Intermountain West, across parts of Montana and Wyoming, where we see that snow beginning to fall in those higher elevations, temperatures will be kept down in the 20s and 30s. As we make our way into Tuesday, we start to see that core of the cooler air start to move off to the north and east near Lake Erie. So that's where the coolest temperatures will be. But Indiana and Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, Missouri, you're starting to rebound temperatures in the 60s. As we make our way to Wednesday, we do see continued warming across the United States, and that makes its way into Thursday. The cool exception being the Northeast, as that area of low pressure continues to move slowly off to the northeast. Temperatures held down across that area in the 40s. And as we make our way into Friday to close out another work week, it's still the Northeast states that are kept down in the low 40s for highs. Most of the rest of the country is at seasonal norms or above, and we start to really heat up in the desert Southwest. We could be seeing our first crack at 110 degrees apart for parts of far southwestern Arizona into the deserts of California. So we're going to watch for a bona fide heat wave to start to take hold in that part of. Looking at it region by region, here on our Monday, we're going to see widespread 40s and 50s across most of the Northeast, 60s as we make our way down into Philadelphia, down towards Washington, D.C. As we go towards our Tuesday, generally the same amount of temperatures or same level of temperatures, though parts of Ohio and northwestern Pennsylvania, you could be a little cooler with that added cloud cover. And generally it's a repeat of those conditions on our Wednesday. It's into Thursday when we start to see the real effects of that upper level low. Temperatures held down in the 30s and 40s, but down toward New York City, you're in the 60s. Down toward D.C., you're talking in the upper 60s. And by our Friday, as we close out another work week, that core of the cooler air is centered over the Northeast. We're going to have widespread 40s for places like Boston, down to New York City. Even Philadelphia, you're going to struggle to get into the low 50s for your Friday. Across the deep south, we're seeing generally warm conditions, 70s and 80s through the Carolinas, back through Georgia, Alabama, and Mississippi. And we have 80s across parts of Florida, even some scattered 90s for places like Orlando and Jacksonville for our Monday. Tuesday, we're going to see pretty much a repeat of the same day, maybe a few degrees warmer. Look at some of these projected high temperatures across central Florida, where you could be in the mid 90s for your Tuesday. Across parts of Texas for our Monday, we're going to watch temperatures ranging in the 50s in the far northwest, all the way down to near 90 as we get down toward Brownsville. Temperatures are going to continue to warm across southern Texas into the 80s and 90s, while across parts of Oklahoma, we're kept down to the 50s and 60s for our Tuesday. That's associated with an area of disturbed weather as it makes its way across the Central Plains, and really as we get towards Friday to close out a work week. 70s and 80s are widespread across the area, 90s and upper 80s far southern Texas. Across the upper plains for our Monday, we're going to see widespread 70s across the Dakotas into Minnesota, but parts of Montana and Wyoming, you're going to be much cooler down in the 40s as that trough digs in from the north and west. That warmth kind of gets scooted to the south and east on our Tuesday with those 70s across southern Minnesota, Iowa, and South Dakota. But Wednesday, we return to the warmth as warmth continues to build back to the north and west, widespread 70s and 80s. As we take a look across the southwest, temperatures generally in the 80s across most of California. We do have some cool area across northern Arizona and southwestern Utah, temperatures being held down in those mountainous regions, but the warmth is going to continue as we continue to build throughout the week, and the temperatures in the desert southwest are going to warm up into the 90s to mid 90s by the time we get to Thursday, and approaching well over 100 degrees by the time we get to Friday. Even Los Angeles, you could be in the low 80s by the time we get to our Friday. As we get into the week of the 12th of May, widespread above normal temperatures across most of the United States, the exception being the western part of the United States, California, Oregon, and Washington. You'll be below normal in terms of your temperature, but you'll be above normal in your precipitation for that same time period. While we see an area drier than normal temperatures from Texas up through Arkansas, the Tennessee and Ohio valleys, all the way into the Northeast. Below normal precipitation is expected for the week of May 12th, whereas parts of Florida and the Carolinas, even into Georgia, you would experience above normal precipitation for this time period. We thank you for joining us here at the Weather Farm. We hope you have a wonderful Monday. Check back with us on Wednesday for your next video. We hope you have a wonderful day.